At the other end is David Duke, who, by the way, is a member of the Assembly in the legislature in Louisiana. David Duke, who's the very mention of his name causes people to go into paroxysms. It's true, David, it's true. But did you give Clarence Thomas the kiss of death by endorsing his nomination?
Well, I hope not. I just told the truth, that if he's for real and if he's opposed to these programs of racial discrimination called Affirmative Action, and if he's opposed to busing and he believes in the individual liberties that he says he does, I think he'll make a great Supreme Court justice. And he's saying a lot of the things that I'm saying, and that's good. I think we've had a lot of shift in politics since the time that I first came out politically as a candidate talking about those very same issues. And I think we're seeing, this is a result of that shift that's taking place in America.
The newspapers up here in the East, Washington and New York and Boston, all these newspapers up here are saying that your endorsement presents more problems for Clarence Thomas. How do you react to that?
I don't know at all. I mean, we know that 80% of the American people are opposed to so-called affirmative action. They're opposed to quotas. They're opposed to race norming, where you change people's test scores because they're of a particular race, whether it be up or down. And that's what I stand for. I'm not part of what I was a member of 10 years ago or 15, 20 years ago as a very young man. I'm a member of the legislature. I have a voting record. And I have a very good chance to be governor of the state of Louisiana. I got 45% of the vote in the Senate race, and we're looking, very, very good for the governors winning the governor's race this year.
Well, all right. You mentioned the past, and of course that comes up constantly. As a matter of fact, here's a little headline: Ex-KKK pal is backing Thomas. Apparently, no matter what you would do from here on in, you'll always be known as the ex-Ku Klux Klan leader.
Well, that's true, and it shows you how things are so perverted. Even Thomas himself. I mean, he was a radical leftist at one time. He was a supporter of Malcolm X, I think, years ago, and he's become a conservative. And he's proof that people can change and people can evolve in their life. And I've not really changed my whole position. What I've simply become is more moderate in my life. I haven't gone from a conservative to a liberal or a liberal to a conservative. I've simply become more moderate in my positions. But my same basic values about preserving the Constitution and equal rights for all, that still goes on.
Has anybody, well, of course, it'd be too late now for anybody to say, if you really want him to be, and I'm not being facetious really, but if you really want him to be confirmed, withhold your endorsement.
Well, I didn't know this was going to be a big deal. Some people in Louisiana asked me about it. I just gave my opinion. I have not formally endorsed him for the Supreme Court. I just said that if he holds true as to his positions, which most Americans agree with, he'll make a good Supreme Court justice, and that's all I've really said about it. That's all. I agree with his stated positions, and that's all I've ever said about the matter. And it's typical of some of the very, very liberal media sources in this country that they would try to twist that around or try to use that to hurt somebody. I don't think he's going to be hurt. I think he's going to fly in there as a Supreme Court justice.
What about you now? You ran for the Senate. You say you're running for governor. It's very difficult to keep up with Louisiana politics, whether you're involved or not. Louisiana politics, I think, is different than politics anywhere else. Would you agree?
I don't know. I think Louisiana does have an interesting kind of a gumbo mix of politics. We've got the Anglo North and the Catholic South. I represent a very Catholic district. We have a large black population and a large white population. We've got a lot of mixes in Louisiana, so it adds a lot of spice to our politics. But it's the same basic, I think, opinions that is shared by most of America, most Middle America. I mean, Middle America is tired of a welfare system that doesn't encourage people to work, that encourages illegitimacy, and people having babies faster than they can raise our taxes to pay for them, and actually puts people in a climate of drugs rather than being tough on the drug users and sellers in those areas. I think the average American, agrees with me, and I think I'd be just as popular in Mississippi, or for that matter, parts of Illinois, or New York City, for that matter. I mean, I remember doing your show a few years ago, and 9/10 of the callers were calling in supporting my position. So I don't think it's something simply native to Louisiana. I think it's national.
Well, here you have the situation with incumbent Governor Buddy Roemer, formerly a Democrat, and then switched to the Republican Party.
Because of me.
Because of you, huh?
Well, he had to. He didn't know what to do. He's lost his constituency, and and is trying to head me off in this particular race, and it's not doing him any good. He's a bigger tax and spender than our former Governor Edwards, and we went from a $6.7 billion budget in Louisiana to a $9.2 billion budget. He's tried to triple income taxes, raise property taxes, raise sales taxes, raise utility taxes. He's an open advocate of quota systems, of racial quotas and affirmative action, and now this guy calls himself a Republican, and the Republican hierarchy embraces Buddy Roemer. It's just absolutely insane. It's not insane what Louisiana does politically, but sometimes it's insane what the national, sometimes what the national parties do.
Well, apparently he's going to be on the ballot, and Mr. Callaway is going to be on the ballot as the official Republican candidate, right?
Well, that's right. That's going to hurt. That's going to hurt Roemer. Callaway doesn't have much chance to win, but it's a big blow to Roemer's prestige being a governor and Republican and not getting the Republican Party support, because that means no Republican member of the hierarchy in the state, no Republican parish chairman or PAC chairman or anything can support the governor. So Holloway won't take many votes from me. I mean, Baggert got the endorsement last time. He was the official Republican nominee against Bennett Johnston, but I did so well against Baggert, he ended up having to drop out of the race. So
that was the election where all the national Republicans came down from Washington and told everybody not to vote for you.
That's right. In fact, they came down, and actually we had national Republicans down here in Louisiana telling them to vote for a liberal Democrat by the name of Bennett Johnston against both Republicans, both the endorsed Republican and myself. They had people coming down and saying, we've got to support Johnston so we keep Duke from getting in there. Now, this is the way the Republican Party has shot itself in the foot for a long time. And Bennett Johnston actually voted for more tax increases over the last 15, 18 years than even Teddy Kennedy, and here they were supporting a liberal Democrat over me. So I think the Republican Party needs to get its act together if we're going to really have a way to challenge the liberal domination of Congress.
Of course, one thing about political parties, they will rally behind a big winner, and the sure way to attract backing is to attract votes.
Well, that's true. And I got 600,000 votes in the last race, which is 100,000 more votes than the incumbent governor received when he got elected governor. So, the people who voted for me last time, they have not been struck by lightning. They're still there. The polls still have me third, but I scored 23 points higher in votes than what the polls showed in that last Senate race. 23 points higher. One pollster in New Orleans says that you can't pull David Duke because he flies below radar, and I think she might be right. People, thank goodness we have a secret ballot in America, because people will use that.
In other words, what you're saying is something that I've suspected, that to a pollster, a person might not express endorsement for you, but then when he gets in the voting booth and nobody's watching, he pulls the lever for David Duke.
Well, let's be frank about it. A lot of people in this country are afraid to say what their political feelings are. And, we've seen the liberal media tear people apart simply for, voicing very simple conservative platforms and principles.
Well, we pride ourselves on being the country we are, and yet people try to intimidate all the time. As a matter of fact, I want you to know that there was intimidation directed at my magnificent producer, Broadway Roy, and myself, when it was announced that you were going to be on the program. Don't have him on, we were told, by people calling in. Don't have them on. See, they're afraid of what you're going to say.
Yeah, well, I don't know what I've said so terrible and so awful. I've got a voting record, and that's what's so funny. People keep talking about my past. They don't talk about my present. They don't talk about I've got a very clear voting record. Before I ran, they said that I was going to be a monster. I was going to get in there and do all these terrible things in the House of Representatives and then the legislature here. And what's happened is that I've been the leading opposition to affirmative action bills that we've killed. I've passed 5 bills in the House of Representatives, the first bills in the United States of America that have outlawed quotas, that have outlawed race norming, that have provided more contraception availabilities for welfare recipients. And it's amazing. In a lot of states, social workers don't even inform welfare recipients that there are contraceptive methods available, and that they can go in for counseling on those issues. And in Louisiana, we don't do that. And so we've made a lot of progress here, and I'm very proud of my record in the House, and I think that the people who I'll give you an example, Bob. This is a good example of how they try to attack me. The other day there was a national...
David, I hate to interrupt you, but we're overdue here on the clock. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Look forward to seeing you up there sometime.